Are you my age? Are you 22 by chance? Well, we're called Gen Z, as you would know. We're the Zoomers. And one thing as a Zoomer that I've noticed is everyone's always telling us to save our money. We need to start spending less here, investing more money. And it's all a beautiful idea, really. Like, I would love to be able to stop spending so much money and invest all my money and save as much money as we can. But when I go through my finances and my income, I realize all the money I spend does go to, well, living. And a large part of it is because of debt. I was dumb when I was 18, as we all were. I was a freshman at university and I got a credit card. And at the beginning, I did a really good job, pay it off in full every single month, doing everything you're supposed to do as a responsible credit card owner. And I was studying accounting, so I was like, who better to manage my money than me because I'm going to be managing money, right? Well, as I learned, a lot of accountants actually aren't very good with their own money, but they're great with other people's money. And that is something I find myself. I run a business and I'm really good at managing the business money and I budget very hard myself, but I realize every single dollar that I make essentially goes back into the business or into living one way or another. I am currently a little over $7,000 in debt on my credit card because I ran out of money when starting my business and I needed more money to keep it going. So there we go. Swipe that credit card we do. So I go ahead and start swiping my credit card. And in the beginning, it was fine. It was manageable. I kept paying it all off in full every single month as I was supposed to. But as these larger expenses started coming up, all right, back on the card. And then back on the card again. It was nonstop card. And eventually, it was a problem. And I essentially maxed out my card because my spending limit was $7,500 and my balance is $7,000. So I'm trying to figure out how can I do it. We are cash flowing, but it's not enough at the moment. I need more money to pump into the business. So I get a business credit card because for some reason the banks decided, yeah, let's give you more money, right? Another $3,000. So then I'm $10,000 in debt. And of course now I make more money. I'm very close to cracking $10,000 a month, but the way all the money gets shuffled around, I'll probably get left with about $3,000, which isn't terrible. But of course, it's gonna have to go to debt and other random expenses that happen in life. My dog needs surgery. There goes $1,000 or $2,000. I got a new kitten, which, whether it was smart or not, it's something that is now in my life and I have to take care of. So we're gonna need to go get shots and all this other stuff for it. It's gonna be another couple $100. And then rent, it's X amount of money. Then my car is X amount of money. And then I ended up moving further away from where my business is to live with my partner. And then I ended up spending almost $800 a month on fuel. So I'm sitting here like, wow, I need to make more money. So I'm constantly trying to figure out how to make more money. And since I am self-employed, I have the liberty of just dilly-dallying, laying there in the grass, staring at this world, trying to figure out what to do. And if you're not employed or have a full-time job, that's exactly what you should be doing. You should be sitting in the grass, figuring out what the hell you're gonna do to make money, right? And the more I did it, the math, and broke everything down, maybe it's because of the life I wanna have, but I have an income problem. And I believe a lot of us have an income problem, more than just a spending problem. People tell us you need to save money on coffee, on going out, and all these little things. And the truth is, your $13 a month for your Netflix isn't gonna push the needle, so just keep it. Your $6 coffee every single morning isn't gonna push the needle, so just keep it. If you were to cut out all these little things you do, right? Your coffee, your Netflix, and all this, in the grand scheme of things, it's gonna be like $70. And those $70 in truth don't even matter because it barely even cover my interest expense on my card or even filling up the tank on my car, right? So it's like, whatever, we keep them. So what can we do as Zoomers if it's not spend less money? We just need to make more money. And it's such a simple concept, right? Oh, just go and make more money. And when you start looking into it, you realize, it's a little bit harder than you assume. You have to be good at something first. And if you're working a fast food job, you're probably not very good at other things, or else you'd be doing that other stuff, right? So I'm like, oh, I can get into the trades. Well, then you need to go to school a lot of the time because they don't want to hire apprentices without prior experience. And the only way to get the prior experience is, well, going to school. So you're like, shit, I was going to school for accounting and hospitality management. I ended up being a manager at a Marriott at 19 for housekeeping, and I was an assistant at maintenance in a different one. And then I ended up switching jobs again because I wanted to learn front desk. I want to learn everything about hospitality and anything related to that, not just hotels, homes, apartment buildings, resorts, all of it. That's what I want to do. But to even get to a point to understand all of that, you have to go through all these different steps. The fact that I was so fortunate enough at a young age to be able to be put in these positions to run these teams and the people gave me a very early boost that I am eternally grateful for, that not a lot of people will have the opportunity to do. And sure, I switched jobs and I've gotten fired, all in the hospitality area. And I decided to open up a business in a completely different industry, something I knew nothing about. And that was very, very dumb. But nevertheless, it worked out for me. So I can't complain too much, right? But being in this industry that I don't want to be in, my business is grueling. I don't like it. And the only reason I keep it going is because, well, the money. I am making the most amount of money I have ever made. And yet I feel the brokest I have ever been because of all these other things. You have to worry about employees, insurances, the taxes on everything, and then my own personal taxes at the end of the year because I am self-employed. And then I got partners that I have to worry about making sure everyone's making the proper amount of money that we need to be making as the accountant. I'm always trying to figure out ways to get more money towards our business. We're going to sponsor a local event, and that costs us a couple grand. And of course, you go, that's fine. The whole city's going to see us, and it's going to cause more work for us. But what if now, because of all the new work, I'm going to need to hire more people? More people, more taxes, more expenses. So you enter this loop of how do you do it? And that's not even accounting for all the inventory you need to keep and constantly manage, because if you start, not keeping track of things, all of a sudden you're low on money. All these little things matter all the time. And if you're in business and you're just starting off, we've been around for a year, you'd understand those feelings of your bank account just going up and down and up and down and up and down. And you're always so scared that you're gonna fucking run out of money. And in the beginning, it was that. And now, of course, we are more stable. But regardless, the bank account will go from $10,000 to 100 to 15 to 5. And that is a stress that a lot of people don't want to deal with. So maybe running a business is not for you. Well, what about the job you're in? Maybe you can work hard enough to become a manager or get a promotion, and at the end of the day, you get a raise. But a lot of us aren't in jobs that allow us for that, or even the mobility. What if you don't like where you live? Do you stay for your job, or do you look for somewhere else? Well, you start applying for another job, and let's say you move, right? You move states. You're going to spend thousands of dollars in the state just to move. So you go, shit, let's put it on a credit card, what a lot of people do. I'll get paid either way and we'll clear it. And then you get to this other place and maybe the cost of living is even higher where you lived and you could barely afford to be where you were at before. So now you're stuck living in a city or, town, whatever it might be, country that has a higher baseline to be able to survive. And that might not be ideal for you. Maybe you want a lower, baseline of survival. So you go somewhere else that requires lower income to survive. But now you realize there are no jobs. You have to commute longer. You have all these little things. Maybe it's even higher crime. That's why it's cheap. And we are stuck in this giant what if situation because back then, people would go to school, get jobs. Us as Zoomers, we go to school, no jobs, or low jobs, or you're just stuck working a fast food job with a degree, which is very common, unfortunately. So you go, okay, maybe I don't go to school. And what do we do instead? We brain rot, right? You're on Instagram all day and you're seeing all these people living amazing lives. And you wonder why are they? And of course, we all know Instagram, TikTok, and all these things just show the best moments of your life. Then you go, well, streamers don't, right? Let's stream. And you realize streaming sucks because you have to be stuck to a screen being constantly entertaining for hours. And that is so draining, even if you are an extroverted person, because you're stuck always being watched for 8 hours a day just for someone to wait for you to mess up and all of a sudden you're enemy number one. Or nobody watches you for hours, and of course that is how everyone starts, but you feel so silly speaking into a camera that no one's listening to. So there's these weird little barriers, mental barriers of course, that we need to get past. Because why go to school if Kai Cenat makes $100 million? So I could be Kai Cenat. Of course, you can't be Kai Cenat because there's only one Kai Cenat. You would have to be yourself. And maybe you aren't an interesting individual. Maybe you are better off working remote. Well, a lot of remote jobs, one, are limited. Two, probably require degrees. And three, could potentially not even pay very well because they could outsource your job to some kid in India. And then boom, you just make no money. You could live at home, which is very common. A lot of us are living at home for very much longer. I was living at home before I moved out because, well, my business was 5 minutes away from my parents' house. So it worked out perfectly fine. My partner, she works here and she makes way more money here than she would being where I, was at. So I was like, that's fine. My income is okay, I'll just move and we'll deal with it. That way you can keep your job that is infinitely more stable than what I'm doing. And I can at least guarantee giving you rent money and covering the expenses. If I make $6,000, I probably spend $6,000. And I'll go through my expenses trying to figure out why. Oh, this. And then I go through all of it and I realize, yep, I need to spend $6,000 a month to live. Okay, so then I started making $7,000. And once again, the equation remains. And I don't understand why. Of course, most of it is probably my debt. And I am actively trying to speedrun my debt, as we did with hers. That way, there's only one individual with it, and you can focus more energy towards another thing. Okay, bet. Debt's gone. You look at food. Food pricing is insane. You go to Target, get 5 items, and now you're spending $70 for 3 days of food. And you're like, okay, fuck. So you go to somewhere else, Costco, Winco, wherever, and you spend $120 for a week. And now you're trying to figure out your meal plans so it doesn't go bad, and that way you can make sure your food isn't wasted. And those are the cycles we are in. We can't get better jobs unless you go to school. But even if you go to school, you might not even get a better job. You can try going remote, but there's so little remote jobs, and a lot of them require all these certifications that you can go and get. And I would recommend you going and get all these certifications, even if you don't end up using it. Because the ability to have that knowledge and use it at a moment's notice is invaluable. And instead of brain rotting, maybe you should stick your nose in a book, even though you hated high school and hate studying, but you also hate your job. And if you hate your job, it can tend for you to hate your life because we spend so much time at our jobs. And that's the sucky part about all of it. Our jobs, our life, all revolve around money. We sell our life force for money. And the more money you make tends to mean you're more stressed. There's all these things you have to worry about now that I never thought I would have to worry about because Business was supposed to be easy. Entrepreneurship was supposed to be so easy. Just go be your own boss, go make your own money, and it works. And I know I'm complaining about me running a successful business so far, but it isn't what it's chalked up to be. There's so much bullshit you have to think about. I've been sick for the past 2 days, so my guys have been running everything with my partners. So, at least in my case, I can live a little bit more stress free. And I wish that for all of you. And if you stood by listening to this, I appreciate you so much. And I hope you find what you want from life. And if I find out how to crack the code, be sure I will let you know. Now, thank you for listening, and bye.